Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. We are in Belgium at the Trophy this weekend, here with the stand with my friend Marco, and I will do two demos, a big Scots pine today and tomorrow an incredible Mugo.
Welcome everyone to the Trophy 2025. Okay.
Okay, so okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Yes in Japanese is hi. Are you ready?
Hi.
Let's count. So I say suddenly each. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah, I don't know.
Just a little moment. 4 people.
Are you ready?
So, are you ready? And you hit after each, yeah? After each, not on each, after each. Are you ready? Yes. So there we go. And each.
We are here ready for the demo on this Scots pine that I collect 6 years ago with my friend Marco in France. And now it's time to shape and put together the foliage, give a nice and compact look to highlight the trunk. We are here with Matteo and Rudy, and they're gonna help me today with the styling of this beautiful Yamadori.
Trophy winners and to see these fantastic demonstrations for this afternoon. It's a tradition that they introduce the demonstrators, but I think it's absolutely not necessary because you all know them. All you know all Ryan here. Our famous demonstrator from Japan, Koji Hiromatsu. And our small man on the left side, Mauro Stemberger. So I say they can start to work now and you can enjoy to see him working.
So we already start preparing for some bending. You can see already we start moving branches back to open this part of the front, creating this gin to highlight this transition. We have another beautiful gin here. There was an old gin that was kind of visually conflicting with this line. I love these two lines coming back towards the base of the tree. They could be a good visual linking point. And now we put some raffia for extra protection. The branches are pretty flexible. I've been growing this tree in this pot for the last 3 years already. So what I normally do with the Yamadori Scots, when I collect the tree, I have to keep intact the original root ball, because otherwise I really, especially on an old tree, I give too much stress in the first collection. What we do, we clean a little bit the roots around, and we get some of the root ball into new soil that for me is 100% big pumice to help air to be in the root ball and allow the tree to rebuild mycorrhiza, because especially old pines like these, they rely their life to the mycorrhiza that is growing in the superficial part of the soil in nature. There is no oxygen after 15 centimeters, that there is no mycorrhiza there. So after a few years, when I see the tree start having good elongation, start having 2 or 3 buds and a strong end, I know is the signal the tree is strong enough to go through the first repot. In this case, I moved the tree from the original plastic container, put in this cheap Chinese pot to grow the tree properly, and basically I have removed totally the original soil. So I kept all the roots that grew in the first pumice that I gave to the tree, and then I removed the rest of the clay at the first repot. And now after 3 years, the tree is ready to be styled. I always like to check in the soil and see the mycorrhiza. That's also the signal that the root ball is strong and ready. I need both signal from the roots and from the foliage to tell me that is the right time to the first big stress. The first manipulation on a Yamadori is always the biggest stress we give to the tree. So we have to be very careful, and basically our material need to be at the peak of his strength. That's very, very important, especially for all the trees like this, okay? If there is any question, again, don't hesitate. The goal here is to prepare everything. So I like to prepare everything before jumping into and start pushing, because it's easier to wire branches when they are open rather than start some major bending and then have fine branches in an uncomfortable position. So it's a little bit funny for me when I work on a tree like that. It's like almost like a Tetris to understand the movement I will give to all the branches, and according to that be able to wire in the proper direction. So as you can see, the guys are preparing some raffia, and while they do their work, I start putting all the structural wire, because I know already the direction I will push the branches and how I want the wire to tight to some curve in the moment I will put the branch in position. And also, as I said already, when I wire, for example, a branch like this, I open it up, flat it out, and then for Matteo or Rudy it will be easy to just fine wire everything while I keep doing another work. You can see I put the first thick wire here, and then Rudy now inside outside is wiring everything. That obviously goes consequentially from the thicker wire that I position. The goal is push down this little elbow. I don't need any raffia here, I can just push it in, and then this part with this part that will help me to create kind of the semi-cascade part of the branches here. I have good branches in this position. I will wrap around, hiding the length in the back and then coming forward with the green. And then I have a few branches, especially some coming from the back, that I can twist over and create the apex of the tree. Always, to simplify the design, I like to go always for 4 points. The external point of the first branch, the sashieda, the counterbalance, second point, the third dimension, so the third point is the back of the tree, the third dimension, and then the apex. Really kind of to simplify and visualize in my mind where I will put the different structure of the tree, and then obviously there is work to do. We have enough fine branches to be able already to have a good set of pads, volumes, create some rhythm, and really frame nicely this beautiful trunk. So yeah, what I said earlier, I mean, I collect these trees 7 years ago. So I spent 7 years to prepare this tree for this moment. And exactly, this is the same work I will be doing in my place, in my workshop, with my student. So I'm glad I have the opportunity, and the organization gave me the opportunity to bring my own trees. This is a little bit of a mistake in the past that, we had a lot of great material 20 years ago, I still remember, and for rush, that material is gone because the tree were not prepared. We still didn't know how to get the tree as strong as possible in a short amount of time, remove the original soil, prepare, fertilize, and everything. My goal is to have this tree in my own bonsai collection in the future and develop this tree. So that's why yesterday I was a little bit concerned about the temperature of the room and everything. This morning, every hour I send one of my students to, spray the tree to don't have dehydration, because obviously passing this tree from, even if I protect the week before coming here from the frost, passing from like minus temperature to inside and then eventually go back outside could be stressful for the tree, and these accumulate stress from whatever we are already doing. So talking also a little bit more about the aftercare, because also preparation is important, but also the aftercare from the work is very important. So I could not bring this tree home and eventually still -7, -10 in my place, and I bent some branches, staying inside for a few days. The tree lost the capacity of self-protection from the frost. So this tree is going to go in a greenhouse. It will be protected from frost, and then slowly, when the tree and outside temperature will rise up, the tree will go outside. These are some steps before and after that we have always to keep in consideration when we work on the trees. It's not about the show. It's about living and dreaming with the tree and getting the tree to the next level. So yeah, I live in the fits of the mountain. So we live in a valley. There is a good amount of rain, autumn and spring. So along the years and growing most of all conifer and most of all pines, I set up my kind of strategy having a lot of pumice and thick pumice in the pots of my trees. So I allowed them to drain fast and have always that amount of oxygen coming in, knowing also that in summertime when temperature rise, the trees, the conifer, goes in a certain stage of dormancy. So I'm not overwatering in summer, and some of my students that come to my intensive, they see me watering and then they ask me, that's it? And it's 40 degrees during the day, but on my pine, I'm very, very shorthand on watering. I allowed a little bit of water in the superficial part of the pot, but never deeply water until I push out all the oxygen, because the game is always give the water and the water push out the oxygen, and then from the drainage all the oxygen can go back in. So if we can get that process running, and especially, as I said, on my pine, there is always a part, the lower part of the root ball that stays dry, and I superficially water the trees in the upper part to allow them to, get some water, plus if I have some fertilizer on top, some of the fertilizer can go into the root ball. That's basically my strategy. During winter, our winter is pretty dry, so I even have sometimes on some warmer window to add a little bit of water to my trees. My conifer stays out all winter time because, as I said, it's dry enough, it's not so wet. And something I do with some Yamadori, I do a lot of Yamadori, and sometimes I collect Yamadori in autumn, and obviously they don't have enough time to start developing finer roots and breathe into the container. So what we do in the last few years, and works, we plastic bag the pot, so we don't allow the rain to be always, and eventually if it's snowing and everything, so the root ball stay dry inside of the bag. Is actually the opposite process we do on the cedus tree, that we bag the foliage to hold the moisture inside. For the conifer, we bag the root balls to keep them dry during winter. I collect a big larch last autumn that I prepare. Also, preparation in nature for big trees is important, removing some big roots and everything. And then I bag it, and now the trees already start pushing out because it was kept dry during winter. Even sometimes on some mugos, if they don't have really a lot of roots, I put in the greenhouse. So that's an extra protection, also to not allow any freezing temperature to freeze the pot. I have days in summer with 42 degrees Celsius. What I do, Scots pine are used to very hot temperature. They grow, especially the French ones, they go almost in a sort of a desert in France. The little problem is about mugos. What I do, I create a skirt of coconut fiber around the pot, and the coconut fiber isolate the pot from the heat, and I test the temperature. So when the pot of a Scots pine goes to like 60, 65 degrees Celsius in the hottest part of the day, I can protect the mugos with that little skirt, and this help the tree. Obviously, mugo come from a higher environment. The night is cooler, so they can release, the tree is a solar pump, so it absorbs also the heat from the foliage, and it sends down the heat in the roots. So we need to release that heat somehow. That's why a lot of people are having problem with larches, for example. As soon as the roots of the larch get heat, they stop absorbing and they start rotting and dying. So For my mugos, I use that technique of the coconut skirt and works pretty well. And I have my trees, my pines in full sun in summer from 6 in the morning to 9 o'clock in the night when the sun goes down. So basically, that's my strategy.
Thanks so much.
If you kill a pine in summer, it's generally for overwatering, it's not because it dries out. I'm wired, so I want first the technical control of everything on the tree. I want to be able to move a branch, don't have to, conflict with other work that has been done. I'm very kind of on a schedule when I work on a tree. The main thing is when we style a tree, when I style a tree and there is not a structure, I have to prepare everything in order to build that structure while I then start positioning the branches. Different is my strategy when I have already a tree with some primary structure, and then I can start from the lower branch and move up to the next. You can see already now that with just a piece of guy wire, I was able to move down a section, compact, and create basically the first branch of the tree in kind of a couple of levels, start already framing the green with some of the twist of the trunk that I want to highlight, some other that I will hide, and now I can work around on a circle up and try to push together the structure and position the green in order to have every single part of the tree good exposure to light and be willing to grow and set the structure. In terms of strategy and also connecting a little bit with that fertilization mood that starts here in the stage, what I normally do to prepare a tree on a show, I bring the energy of the tree up with high amount of nitrogen, get the tree nice and strong. I don't care about the length of the needle. That I can reduce in time with a different type of fertilization plus a different way how to water the tree. But I still gonna heavily fertilize the season after a first structural work because I want the tissue of the tree to explode and set in position. That's my main goal for the first year or two after a structural work like this one. I want the structure in position. After that, I will change and slow down the amount of nitrogen to have more distribution of energy all over the tree, not only apical energy, that is what most of the time nitrogen produce, and then I will keep maturing the tree, slowing down the numbers of my macro elements generally. As you can see, we are framing the trunk with the branches, starting to the right side, that is the side of the first branch, and then compressing and hiding some of the curve in the back. We was able to push up this branch that is helping here where I will build the top. And then, as I said, we working up, creating pads, start subdividing the volumes, compacting, creating depth. I have a long branch here that we prepare originally. I didn't know, I always like to keep one or two extra branches just in case. You never know on a first styling if something goes as thought, and we can have always a plan B or some more help. I prefer to prepare and then remove that cut originally when we start and then needing that branch. But so far, so good. So, we are compressing, finding good anchor points to push structure together. In the meantime, we don't want to create confusion. So we basically hide the bend inside and then we start coming out with a nice branch. We don't want to twist the end of the branch just to compact. It's only the inner part that compresses. It's like the trunk of the tree. All the bending is here and the rest is flowing. So if we put bending on some branches, we have to bend the first third of the structural branch. Then everything has to come out nice and clean, because younger branches are the ones growing straight to the sun. They don't tweak too much. Older branches are the ones that twist, because along the years of growing of the tree, they have to basically hold the weight of the green, and that's why they bend and they twist. That's why the trunk is so twisted, because he has to hold the weight of all the branches. And we're getting slowly to the final shape, hopefully.
He works on very small trees. He really likes these delicate Japanese maples and things.
I like shoin.
Is that indeed your favorite tree?
Ume shoin for me is the best. As you can imagine, I like pines, especially Scots. I love mugos, but in the challenge between the two, I will think that Scots is more reliable and a little bit easier to grow and to adapt in the basically overall European weather from south to north, something that Mugo has a little bit of problems. I love the deadwood on Mugo, the interaction between the movement and the shari, but Scots for me has a very incredible flavor. And I think on this one we're trying to really highlight that potential of the species that we are so lucky to have here in Europe, and in my opinion, is one of the best pines in the world. I was in the Rockies and I love the Rosa when they have this twisting movement, also reminding Mugo pines. Unfortunately, the foliage, in my opinion, sometimes need to be grafted differently on Scots that always more or less with all the hybridation that we have in Europe from south to north and east to west, we can really rely on the original foliage if we are able to grow the tree properly. But, that's personal taste.
Maybe in your opinion, Mauro, on the foliage, what you just said, we have these gradations in Europe. It is often said that pines from, say, France have very distinct short needles, and if you go to the Netherlands, you get these very long needles. In Sweden, they're short needles. Is this just horticulture, or is it also genetics?
So there is a part of genetic, but there is also a part of horticulture. I grow Scots from Norway, for example, and I'm able to reduce the needle. Obviously, they don't get as thick as the ones from Spain or France. They still tend to be thin, but with a good cultivation you can reduce them. That's only because, for example, Caledonia pine and pines from the north, they are used to a very high amount of moisture. They grow in moss. The roots grow in a totally different way than the roots on a Scots in a desert area in Spain, in the mountain of Spain, or the high massifs of France, totally different.
My question is somewhat related to that. So we have Sylvestris from Spain, Sweden, Poland, Netherlands, France. How do you deal with that in one condition?
They adapt to live in I don't need to kind of grow them in a different way, because the origin of the species is very similar. There is not like a Scots that is not tolerant to cold because it comes from a warmer environment. You can adapt them to grow more or less. The final result, and I have my bonsai collection. If you come in my bonsai collection, and I have Scots from all over Europe, you can distinctively see the aesthetic of the needle, the color of the bark on them, even if they grow all in the same place. So I don't have to do something special to keep all of them there. It's not like growing like a Japanese black pine and a Mugo pine. That is two different strategies.
Thank you.
So we get into the end of the styling. Rudy is cleaning some of the, whatever we create that can obstruct the soil from breathing. The tree is now compact. We still have some extra branches in the back that I kept, also just in case, and to have extra green mass to perform and keep the tree strong. in the future, this is just the first styling, so in the future I can always go through and simplify some of that structure I start building today. But as you can see, now the tree is compact around the trunk. I think the green really highlight all the feature of this beautiful trunk, giving also the idea that the apex come from what you expect to be the natural prosecution of the trunk line around this gene and up, even if we kind of trick the eyes of the observer with another extra branch that we bring from another junction. But for today's all, see you at the next. And a big applause to my two assistants. They did a great job, and they put up with my craziness to do a tree like that in 3 hours, but it's good.